Good morning, T. It's time to wake up. It's surgery day. Today's your lucky day.
You're watching part 2 of Teaspoon the Mini Horse's story. If you haven't seen part 1, click here now to go back and watch that. If you have seen it, I'm still going to give you a quick refresher. Teaspoon is the cutest horse in the world. She's about 6 months old, and she's been living for 5 months with a terrible infection in her foot, which was assumed to have been caused by a rattlesnake bite. By the way, this is the only time we'll blur it, so from here on out, you will see her foot in all its nastiness. The family that had Teaspoon was not getting the help that they needed from vets in their area, so they reached out to Amanda at Panda Paws Rescue, who ultimately connected them to us at Goats of Anarchy, which is a sanctuary for special needs farmed animals. So we went to Louisiana to pick up Teaspoon, and we drove her all the way to New Jersey, and that's where the last video left off. So we're gonna pick up there. You're gonna learn a lot from our vet in this video.
It's infected up to here.
You're gonna see some things that are very rare in the equine world and do not happen often, including an amputation surgery. That's no?
Yeah.
So this is gonna be really interesting. Thanks for watching.
So cute. She's still learning how to step out. She's like, I'm gonna jump. Come on this way. When Teaspoon first arrived, her foot was in pretty bad condition. There were maggots and infection, and the tissue was pretty necrotic, meaning that it wasn't alive, and that's what the maggots were feeding on. So the first treatment was to remove the maggots and to try to get the tissue as healthy as possible. Even though we were going to remove the limb, we wanted to make sure that she didn't have a raging infection when we went into the surgical room. All right, Ian, can I put you to work?
Yeah.
I mean, Ian, how much do you think she weighs? She weighs like nothing, right?
She weighs nothing, yeah.
I'm cutting away the bandage that was on since yesterday. You can see that some of the discharge has soaked through the bandage. It's like gross stuff on the bottom. We're gonna soak her in dilute betadine and warm water and clean up the leg. And then we're gonna re-bandage it. We're trying to get all the necrotic, which is the dead tissue, to be a little bit healthier before surgery.
Oh wow. Okay, the green makes her look like an alien.
Okay, hold on. The green is medicine.
That's the poultice?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the green is good. So the goal is to amputate around this level. So we want to try to have as much healthy skin as possible. So I'm trying to get all the infection to go down instead of come up. It's looking a lot better, believe it or not. I know it looks bloody, but the blood is healthy blood.
Does this hurt?
Well, look, she doesn't, I mean, she's not sedated or anything, so she's not fighting too much. She's only 6 months old. She's being so good.
Yeah.
I would love to know if they found the snake.
Right.
It was assumed that initially it was a snake bite, but after seeing the wounds, we think that it potentially was just a random wound that occurred initially, and then the disease, pitheosis, took over, and that's what caused such a significant progression and caused the limb to eventually need to be amputated. There's a disease called pitheosis, which is like a fungus, and it is called swamp cancer. Like that's like what people call it, and dogs and horses can get it in like areas like Louisiana, Texas, Florida, and it's treatable. That's what will be really frustrating, I think, for everyone. If it would have gotten treated initially, maybe we wouldn't have lost a leg. All right, so this is Epsom salt poultice. It's gonna draw out the infection. So between the soaking and the poultice, the goal is that the infection is getting drawn out so they'll have healthy tissue. And so far, so good.
I love that stuff.
It smells so good, right?
It does smell so good, yeah.
I know, I really want to eat it.
Yeah, do you want to just eat it?
It smells like
right?
a peppermint.
Yeah.
Hold on, little teaspoon. All right, let's get the whole thing. And then she's got a little lift on the other foot. She's got like a little high heel on there.
Can you wrap it red so it's like a stiletto?
Listen. I am very impressed that she has made it this far and has managed to fight off infection and survive this long, because this affected her when she was only a month old, and she just fought for the past 4 to 5 months, and it's pretty amazing.
Where'd you get the blanket from?
Aaron's dog. Isn't that cute? Even though her personality is very quiet and docile, I think she's going to show us who she is soon, and I don't think we have seen her full personality yet. She's so cute.
A few days before the big surgery, some of the GOA staff and volunteers went over to Dr. Wilson's barn to see Teaspoon and give her some love. We also had a gift to give her, a giant teddy bear to keep her company in her stall. She seemed to like the bear, but she was way more interested in the other thing we brought her.
We got a wheelchair for her because we weren't sure how weight-bearing she would be, and because horses do not do well bearing weight on only 3 out of 4 legs, we wanted to be able to provide her with support in a format of some sort of sling, which is how Leanne came up with the wheelchair idea. So we had a wheelchair that we tested and fit to her and made sure she was comfortable in, so that if any time during recovery she's not able to stand on all 4 feet, we could help her by lifting some of the weight off those other limbs.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Go backwards is always first.
Teaspoon did great in the wheelchair. Since she didn't have to put as much weight on her injured foot, she seemed much more comfortable and was moving more easily than she did without it.
Oh, Teaspoon, good job.
She even figured out how to turn and was walking uphill just as easily as downhill. So I think we all felt confident that if after surgery Teaspoon does need a little extra support, she would have exactly what she needed. That being said, an amputation is a major surgery, especially for a horse. So we couldn't help but be a little nervous about what was coming.
So the cannon bone is like that to here. So the cannon bone is 7 inches. And they're probably gonna take off to there. How's that?
Wow.
They're gonna take off probably about 6 inches, which is right about there. Yeah. All right, here we go. Hi, T. Come on, we're going to have surgery. Amputations are not common in horses. There's only been about 50 or so documented ones. Horses do not do well weight bearing on 3 limbs, and so Teaspoon's very lucky that she's small and young, and so hopefully the prognosis for her to be able to compensate is good, but she will have to wear a prosthetic 24/7. So she's getting a little sedation, and then she'll go to sleep. The whole 55 pounds of her. The surgical procedure was to remove the diseased tissue, which included amputating the leg. So initially what we did was we removed some nerves from the limbs so that she wouldn't have phantom pain. So we're performing a nerve block so she won't feel it even though she's under anesthesia. It provides more pain relief. And then we controlled the blood vessels. This will monitor blood pressure during surgery. It's an arterial line. And from there, cut the bone as close to the damaged tissue, but giving us good margin so we could use healthy tissue to end the stump.
Okay, so at this point, we are actually going to show you her bone being cut. It's not overly graphic, but we understand that some of you are not going to want to see that. And some of you really are. So if you don't want to see it, skip ahead about 30 seconds.
after surgery, the tissue looked all healthy and great, and she seemed to respond very well once she woke up.
What do you want me to do, Derek? You want me to bandage this
normal
first?
bandage. Do a normal.
There's nothing normal about this.
It was really great that Derek, the prosthetic maker, could be there immediately after surgery, because we were able to put a cast on that could get her into a temporary prosthetic right away instead of just a cast with a splint. So she can get used to how to walk in a prosthetic and be able to weight bear more consistently. Come on, LT. Time to go home. Teaspoon is going to be in my care for a bit longer, I would say weeks to a month, until we can make sure that the stump is fully healed and we could fit her with her first prosthetic, and then she can get lots of love at GOA. About a week after surgery, Dr. Mike Figaro, the surgeon, came to recheck Teaspoon. We removed the cast and we checked her incision.
Such a good curl, just laying here for you guys.
I know, that hurt. The incision is healing very well, and she is gaining weight and acting so much more spunky. She seems to be much more energetic and comfortable and happy. Teaspoon is doing really well in her recovery. She is progressing very well and seems to be really adapting to the prosthetic. I'm really excited for her. She's gonna do great and live a happy and fulfilling life at Goats of Anarchy.